For those of you guys watching remotely, this is Miss Mary Hall, our auditor for Thurston County. If you'd love, I'd love if you want to give us a little background about yourself and help us know who you are and what you do.
Sure. I started my election career in 1996, probably before many of you were born, in Pierce County, which was a little larger county. And then I was the election supervisor up there. And in 2013, this was an open seat, and I was kind of at a dead end up there. So I decided to run for county auditor, and I won. So I am in my second term. Plan on running for one more term. To me, elections are, it's an amazing line of work. There's just something about, having your hands deep in democracy, and it's also very challenging, and it's always different. So I'm never bored. So I really love what I do. And we're 4 days out from a presidential election. I have a great staff, and yeah, it's been interesting to conduct an election in a COVID environment.
Yeah, and we sincerely thank you for making the time for us during this busy time, and thank you for the job that you do. I love how you say that, deep in the election. It is a very heavy business that it's a large burden, and we thank you for doing it. You do a very fantastic job.
Yeah, I view it as it's an amazing responsibility to have.
It is.
I'm honored to be able to do this.
Very much so. I do have some questions from students. If you'd like to answer some questions, we'd love for you to answer some questions. And then if you want to share anything else, I'd love to make some space for you to do that as well.
Okay. I love answering questions. We like to play Stump the Auditor.
Yes. So. Well, and in years past, Rochester students have attended the ballot processing facility there at Mottman. Would you mind telling us, we had some students that were wondering, how do you verify the signatures on mail-in ballots?
Okay, sure, I can answer that. And if you're really interested in seeing the ballot processing center, we actually have a video on our website called The Path of a Ballot. And I don't know if you've watched that or not, but it really gives you an idea of what happens once the ballot is put in a drop box. So signature verification, we've been doing this for years in Washington State. We have a team of trained signature verification folks who are trained by the Washington State Patrol Fraud Division, and they're required to go through that training every single year. So when a ballot comes into our facility, it actually goes on kind of a modified mail sorter. And what this sorter does is it reads the barcode, and which included in that barcode is a voter's voter ID number and their precinct. And so it reads the barcode and takes a picture of their signature. That file, after we scan all those ballots in, is then transferred to our voter registration system. So what the signature verification folks do is 2 signatures come up for that voter. The signature that is on the envelope and the signature that is on the return envelope. So one on top of the other. And those signatures have to match. And it actually, and we verify the signature on every single ballot envelope. It's not a sampling. And it goes pretty quick because the signatures that don't match really jump out at you. And then
if you've been looking at those screens, they do jump out, but it is a pretty monumental feat that you guys are reading every signature. And I think it's pretty amazing and testament to the systems you guys have in place.
And before a ballot is rejected for a bad signature, there are about 6 people that have looked at that and verified it. So it keeps going up to more senior level people who have been doing this for decades, really.
And it is amazing cast of volunteers and employees that you have working in that facility.
Yeah, we don't have any volunteers. Every single person is a paid employee.
And it is amazing though. I mean, it's a large group and they do a fantastic job. So
yes, they do.
And that security kind of aspect is something similar. Some other students had asked if you drop it in the mail versus dropping it in one of the boxes around the county. If I drop it in the mail, is it secure?
It is secure, but the most secure way is to put it in a Dropbox, because that's actually picked up by election staff, and it's the most direct way to return your ballot to us. The mail has been a great partner. I know there's a lot of hype in the media right now, but we've had a relationship with the U.S. Postal Service for many, many years in Washington State. I actually got my ballot the day after we mailed them. So that was lightning fast. And they get back to us, but the thing you have to keep in mind when you mail your ballot in Rochester or Tumwater or Olympia, that ballot goes all the way to Seattle to be processed before it comes back down to us. So the real danger in using a mailbox is when you do it late in the election, because we require that it be postmarked by election day. And of course, they can also get torn up in mail sorting equipment too.
Yeah. Some of the students had wondered, what's the difference? And, you know, in Washington, we've done mail-in voting for so many years. You've noted that a few times. What is the difference between a mail-in ballot and an absentee ballot?
There is no difference. It's just what people call it. The term absentee ballot is very old, and it's before people went all vote by mail. It was used for military voters, people on submarines, people who were traveling. So it was called an absentee ballot because the voter was absent from their jurisdiction and couldn't go to the polling place. So that's why it was called an absentee ballot. Terminology is changing. People are calling them mail-in ballots. Instead of vote by mail, it's being called vote at home. So, but you'll see the terminology change.
And some of that's just, yeah, changing times. And yes, I think that that's a great way to characterize it, that, you know, it's something that was done infrequently before, but now is becoming more and more commonplace.
Exactly.
And that's for the whole country. I mean, I guess in Washington, we've had it as commonplace for quite some time now.
Yeah, there are 5 states now that vote entirely by mail, and did before the pandemic. But I think we're going to see many more go that direction. We'll probably see Arizona join us, Florida join us. But Utah, Hawaii, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington are all vote by mail, 100%. And California now.
Yeah. One of the questions that the students had that speaks to the nature of your office is it easy for you to say how you feel about issues or candidates when you're, you know, trying to remain impartial in that position as the auditor?
Yeah, you know, when I put my hat on and walk through my office door, there are no politics. There's really nothing political about the job I do. You know, I conduct elections and that's it. We don't allow any political discussions in our ballot processing center. You know, by design, we have both Republicans and Democrats. We try to make it as equal as possible in that room. And there are no political discussions. And we remind them, you know, at the beginning of every election, especially for new people, that, you know, political conversation is prohibited. And I spoke to the groups both yesterday and today. And the one thing that's true after every presidential election is half of our staff is happy and half of our staff is sad.
Yeah.
But
and just remember that, yep, the work continues.
right.
But yeah.
Exactly.
Good. Well, and that is a difficult part when you're trying to manage an office that is as sprawling and all encompassing as yours. And yeah, I mean, and people are people, but at the same time, there is a job to be done too.
Yeah, I don't even know the political leaning of my staff because we don't talk about politics. There's nothing political that we do here. Politics are for the campaigns and the parties and things like that. You know, we're all about process and procedures. Our job is to conduct elections.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, I don't know if in your position that'd be something you could speak to, but some of the students were asking, what would be some advice you have for helping to bridge that gap if you did have some of that separation between people, maybe with political differences or other challenges, maybe in the workplace or things you've seen in the community. What advice would you give for, you know, maybe dealing with some of that divide that might be existing?
I think be civil and listen and understand that everybody has a different point of view. And, you know, so much is dependent on where people get their news, you know, of how they feel about issues. But my entire office, whether it's my finance department, my licensing, my recording, passports, elections, we don't bring politics into the workplace. So I don't really get into a lot of political discussions, but I do talk a lot about civility and politics. And I think we just need to respect where everybody's coming from. I think, there's been a concerted effort to divide this country. And, you hear about Russia, and that they have been doing this, not just for a couple years, not just since 2016, but for a couple decades. And they figured out, wow, social media is a great way to divide this country, and let's make people mad and angry and not trust each other. And that's really, really unfortunate.
Yeah. I love that message of civility though. And I think that can go a long way in these times when, like you mentioned, there is, divisions that we see. I do want to give you an opportunity to speak any other things that you'd like, future voters or people that are voting in this election to maybe pass along to individuals.
Well, for those of you that are eligible to vote, I hope you voted already and registered. We are open tomorrow. We're no longer at the courthouse. We're actually at South Puget Sound Community College, and it's very convenient. You don't even have to get out of your car. You can come here, register, get a ballot, and go in the parking lot, vote it, and put it in a drop box right there. So I really do hope you vote. Your age group is going to have a lot of power once you become of age. Demographics are changing in this country. It used to be that the 45 to 54-year-olds were the largest voting group. It's not, they're not anymore. The 25 to 34, the 35 to 44, those are our two largest groups of voters. I mean, those are the largest groups we have registered, which is really a shift. And, you view the world very differently than your parents or grandparents. And I think it's so important for you to really, get involved in politics and think about those issues that are important to you, and get involved in the community or in organizations that are going to help further those issues, because it's, number one, it's a complex world. So everybody's could have something very totally different. For me, growing up, it was access to healthcare. Others, a big topic today is climate change. And whatever that is, I think, stay engaged, stay involved, and don't give away your power. By not voting, you're basically giving your power to somebody else who is voting. So I hope that you'll be consistent voters, because this really is how our democracy works. And there are a lot of forces out there trying to get people to feel like, oh, your vote doesn't really matter. It doesn't count the way you thought it was going to count. There's, shifting votes, and that's not happening. It can't happen, because we have 8,000 separate jurisdictions across this country that count votes. And there's no way you can infiltrate 8,000 of those, because number one, they're not connected to the internet. So regardless of what you hear, votes don't switch. The election results are true. What they do try to do is change laws to trip us up. But election administrators are an incredibly resilient group of people. We're used to pivoting.
And we are so thankful because of that too, I don't know if that healthcare issue has gone away over time, but
no, it hasn't.
At the same time, whatever issue matters to you as students, make sure you get out there, vote, make your voice heard. Thank you so much, Ms. Hall. That was so fantastic. We really appreciate it. Make sure, kids, that you get out there, vote, okay, make it happen. All right.
I love that t-shirt.
Take care.
Thanks. Okay, bye-bye.